Another episode, another week. We are moving along. Hey, everyone. Thank you for downloading The Retro Gamers. Larry here.
And Anthony here.
What's going on, Ant?
Oh, another city, another day, another evening. I don't know where the hell I am anymore.
You're on location this week.
I feel like I'm on location almost every week.
Where are you now?
I am in St. Louis, Missouri.
There we go. St. Louis, Missouri. Sweet. How is St. Louis? Never been.
It's nice. Got a big giant arch.
There you go. Have you been there before with your prior employer?
Yes, actually. When I worked for WWE. Okay. Am I allowed to say that?
Fine by me.
Yeah, I'm sure I've said that before on the podcast.
Yeah.
But when I worked for WWE, I believe I came here at least twice.
Oh, nice.
For shows. So, yeah. I was actually doing a count when I was hanging out with my friend who lives here. And this, I believe, is my 6th time in St. Louis.
Okay. So you can soon get a driver's license in St. Louis.
Yeah, more or less. I'm getting close to it.
There you go. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm still on Long Island. Not going anywhere just yet. So.
Yeah, we need to get you out more.
If I can lug this iMac computer, then we can do it.
Yeah, we need to get you on a laptop.
Almost got a laptop, but had to think twice for now. But this works for now. Unless we're in person.
Better when technology is portable.
And we get that. So this week, I don't know if you're able to. I know you've been traveling. You're traveling next week. I know you are. Did you happen to get a chance to catch my Castlevania gameplay yet? Or at least this week's gameplay?
No, I didn't see the latest video, but I was going to ask you on how you're making progress. I saw the first 2. Mm-hmm. I want to say it's your 3rd video.
Yeah. I'm just getting. I mean, I'm moving along, but I'm getting more and more. The game just is frustrating more and more. I'm definitely not getting the best ending, but we're going to get into the endings in a moment because I actually read something about the endings.
Okay, well, I had faith that you would not get the best ending. So,
but I'm after I complete the game the first time, I'm gung ho to do it again to get the ending, to get the best ending, which actually may not be the best ending.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're going to get into that in a few seconds.
Based on your research, huh?
Yeah, which is just basically my walkthrough. So
you're Wait. So you're cheating?
No, it's a walkthrough.
Yeah, walkthroughs basically tell you how to beat the game.
So does a strategy guide.
So yeah, but I thought you were doing this naturally. Like when I did Shining Force 2,
yeah,
I didn't use any walkthroughs. I did it all by myself.
Okay. Well, wait. Because I want to complete Castlevania 2 this millennia.
No, I understand you want to complete Castlevania 2, but there's no sense of accomplishment a walkthrough to do it. I mean, why don't you just go watch a video on YouTube?
I would have, but that would have taken too long. At least this point, I can kind of go through it, and I've already missed some stuff anyway, which is because...
All right, so when you write it down, just put an asterisk next to it, because it doesn't...
It totally counts.
It counts as much as the success of the Virtual Boy.
Which counts, and that guy got fired, so...
No, because there was no success, so therefore this doesn't count.
But I already missed something that I have to backtrack big time on. So when people tune in next time I play, which may not be this week, I may just scheduling wise, it may have to be next week, or I may do it like earlier this week. Be prepared because I'm going to have to backtrack a big time at one point. So, but I've completed the third mansion. So now I have Dracula's eyeball.
Ah, very nice.
That reveals all the books everywhere, like in the game. You know, the books that give you the hints and everything.
Yes.
So,
and those are the things that are supposed to help you complete the game, not a walkthrough.
Okay. So anyway, I will soon be completing this game, walkthrough or not.
Yeah, with a walkthrough.
Have you used walkthroughs?
I can say on occasion I have, yes.
Okay.
But I can, but I can also say that it's been very, very seldom. It would be a game that I'd literally be stuck on for weeks, and then I'm like, okay, if I don't do it, I'm not going to keep playing.
Did you not watch the first 2 gameplays that I've been doing? I have no clue what's happening.
Well, yeah, because it's Castlevania 2.
Exactly. You know what, folks? Let's put it to you. Do you feel a walkthrough is a legit way to beat a game or not a legit way to beat a game? Fill us in and let us know at the Facebook page, facebook.com/retrogamerspodcast.
I think we should start putting polls up like that.
You know, I've seen people. Do you know how to put a poll up on Facebook? Because I've tried.
No, I've never tried, but I think I've seen do it. Yeah. Right. So I mean, this will be our first poll.
We'll make it a poll. Sweet.
Yep. So all 6 people can weigh in.
Hey, we're getting a lot of people now. Come on now.
All right.
Definitely doing good.
maybe 8.
I saw you bought some games, didn't you?
Yes. You know, since we did start doing this podcast with increased regularity. All right. And since my job, requires me to travel, and apparently my job's travel isn't enough, so now I just travel for fun, as well. I decided that, every city I wind up visiting, I'm going to see if I can find myself some retro game shops.
All right.
So one of the things I wanted to do when I got to Missouri, or St. Louis, I should say, is to go around and see what kind of retro game shops I could find. Mm-hmm. And my friend, who is really awesome.
Did you use
Rich,
a walkthrough?
Yeah, yes, I used a walkthrough. I asked my friend Rich. I was like, are there any shops where I can find some retro games? So he pointed me to a couple of places, and he came with me and was bored out of his mind as I shopped. But so there's this one. I don't know if it's a chain. I don't think it is, but mm-hmm. There were 2 stores that I went to of this place called Slackers, and they basically sell new and used video games, DVDs, mm-hmm. Music, CDs, comic books.
Wow.
Yeah, basically, just all that genre.
One-stop shopping almost.
Yeah, basically all entertainment stuff, and they were both very sizable stores.
Okay.
So they also had toys and statues and things like that too. So
sweet.
So, really, both of them really cool places. So I hit both of those up. The prices were decent. Mm-hmm. I felt like there were some they weren't. No, it wasn't that one. I'm thinking there was some whenever I go retro game shopping, I'll go online and I'll see what games are going for before I purchase them in the store. So I went online and their prices weren't that far off. There were a few that were a little high. Like I didn't wind up buying any Super Nintendo in their store, if I remember correctly, because they were a bit high.
Okay, I think you bought one. I saw because you put the pictures up on the Facebook page.
Yeah, I bought one, but I think that was in a different store.
Oh, okay.
There were 2 stores that I went to. So between those 2 stores, I picked up one store had a lot of Sega CD games. So I kind of went through a bunch of those, and I also I don't have a hit list when I go shopping. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of, and it was really massive. It would have taken me forever to go through all the games they had, because they had a lot. So, but the Sega CD collection wasn't that sizable, which makes sense because Sega CD wasn't wasn't around for very long. So I wound up picking up I think 5 or 6 Sega CD games.
Yeah, you picked up a lot of them.
Yeah, so I picked up Dungeon Master 2, mm-hmm. Microcosm. Mm-hmm. I picked up this Safe Kids game. It was a kids construction site. I've never heard of it. I think that was the reason why I picked it up, because I went on eBay and I saw it was going for more than what they were selling it for. So I grabbed that, and then I grabbed Jeopardy.
Yep.
Which I'm sure would be interesting to play right now.
Right.
Jeopardy from the early 90s.
Alex Trebek still with his mustache.
Yes. And then I picked up a game, I think it was called 3220 Jaguar or something like that. I think it was a racing game.
Yeah, that's the one I want to talk about, because when I saw that, I'm like, what an odd game.
Well, and the only reason why I wound up picking it up is because it was going for a lot more money online than they were selling it. And I think mostly that was because they didn't have the original case for it.
I was going to ask that too, because that looked like a different case, but I didn't like. I was trying to remember if Sega CD changed their case near the end.
No, it didn't. They just had like a regular DVD case with the
Okay.
printout of the cover art and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, because normally, like especially with games like that, I'd rather have the case.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So, so buying it anyway because it was going for more money on online. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. So and I think those were all the Sega CD games I picked up.
Yeah, I'm looking at them right here. Yeah, no, definitely a good haul.
Yeah, no, it was overall it was a good haul. And then the other store that I went to, and again, like I'm mixing it up because I know I bought a few in another store too. There's another store I went to called V Block, and that was one of those places where again, similar store, but it was inside a mall.
Hmm.
So and they had but they unlike like Slackers sold a bunch of new stuff. V Block, a lot of their like I feel like a majority of their stuff was used, including like old figures and things like that. Like remember I sent you a picture of that WCW figure?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, they had like old figures just in plastic
Oh,
bags
that's awesome.
with price tags on them. So similar store. So I went to the retro game section. They also had in this store they had the strategy guides
Ooh.
as well. So if you wanted to buy an old strategy guide, they had them there.
Did they have one for Castlevania too?
I did not look for one for Castlevania 2, because I thought you were playing it honestly. But
Wow.
but I guess shame on me. So I think when I was there, I picked up Ready to Rumble Boxing for 64, Arkanoid Do It Again for Super Nintendo.
Great.
Let's see what else. What else did I get my hands on? Berserk for
Yes.
Atari 2600 because I didn't realize that I didn't have that one. I realized it recently when I was doing an inventory of my games. I could have sworn I had it and I didn't. So when I saw it there, I had to pick that up.
There you go.
And I'm trying to think what
the NES carts.
Oh yeah, I
are
forgot
quite
about the
interesting.
NES carts. So most of the NES carts, if not all of them, came from Slackers.
Okay.
I definitely bought way more at Slackers than I did at V Block.
Mm-hmm.
Because the problem with V Block is when I was looking at their games, I forgot which ones they were. I think it may have been Dreamcast or Sega, or I think it was like Dreamcast, because I wanted to buy a bunch of their games, but I don't think they knew how to price them. So they were
Like
all
good or bad?
No, they were just all $9.99. So they were all like $10, and I'm like, okay. I was like, I see a pattern here. I just think they didn't know what they were. And then when I was going online, they were all going for less. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to buy any of these here. And then actually in V Block it was kind of funny because when I went to the Atari games, there was a whole shelf full of Combat, the game Combat. Apparently nobody wanted them, so they were selling them for 99 cents.
There you go.
So I did not pick that up
Oh.
because I have two copies of it at home, and that's why it's 99 cents. Just switching back to Slackers. So the NES games I wound up picking up, most of them were from Slackers, and I picked up Super Team games, which I never heard of.
Yeah, it's Power Pad. That's what you use the game with.
Yeah,
Power Pad.
right. It was a Power Pad game, so I just grabbed that because I don't have it. I'll never play it. And then I picked up no, I mean I don't have a Power Pad.
Oh,
so plus I think using a Power Pad in 2017 would be ridiculous.
compared to everything else, that's motion.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, I should probably get one. Anyway, so I picked that up. I picked up Renegade,
Yeah, nice.
which was kind of like a Double Dragon kind of game. But I actually remember having it, and I enjoyed that game, so I grabbed that. Super Sprint, which was one of my favorite
Classic.
arcade. Yeah, one of my favorite arcade games. In fact, I played it at Barcade.
Yep.
I had to pick that up because I love that. I used to love that NES game too because it was a direct port from the arcade.
Yeah, pretty much. It was easy. Yeah, it was such a simple game. And what was awesome about the arcade, that was the only thing you couldn't replicate on the NES. Because the arcade, which I think was Championship Sprint, but same thing, the wheel, you just spin the wheel to turn, and that's because the wheel was so loose. So you kind of whip the wheel around, and that's what gets you to make those sharp turns.
Exactly. Really fun game. And then speaking of fun, I picked up Funhouse.
I
for NES.
love that game show.
Now, yes, and Funhouse was a game show from the 80s with the host's name was JD Roth. I remember that. With kids running through a funhouse, and it was an awesome game show to watch as a kid. And I forgot that they actually made an NES game. So when I saw it there, I was like, okay, I got to pick that up. So I grabbed that. I'm trying to. There was at least one more.
Shadowgate.
You have Shadowgate. I picked up Shadowgate. I don't know why. I think that may have been another one that I looked online, and it was worth more than what they were selling it for.
There you go, flip it.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, and I'm not buying them to flip them. I'm just adding them to the collection. But again, I thought it was a bargain, so I grabbed that as well. And
you also, I see, you got a couple of N64.
Yeah, I got the Castlevania for N64. The sequel was actually like $50. Legacy of Darkness.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't as much a sequel as Nintendo trying to fix what was wrong with Castlevania 64.
The first one.
Yeah.
So I did not take that one. And then I got WCW Nitro, which nice. I'm trying to round out my wrestling games for N64, and Sweet. That was probably one of the weakest ones. Yeah. Because if you remember, that one played kind of arcade-like, and you had to do combinations to do moves. It was a little odd. So it was obnoxious.
I had it on PlayStation. It was rough.
Yeah, I believe I remember I bought it on PlayStation. And then they did a sequel, which was just like it, called WCW Thunder, and I did not buy that one because I hated it.
Yeah, Thunder was tough.
So yeah. So all in all, I mean, I went a little crazy with the retro game shopping.
You got one more, Fire Pro Wrestling.
Oh, Fire Pro Wrestling returns for PlayStation 2.
Yep.
And my experience with the Fire Pro Wrestling series was, I ordered the import on PlayStation 1, and I remember the appeal for us back then was that the game had over 300 wrestlers in it, and it's the first video game that you can purchase that had the wrestlers from WWF and WCW and ECW all together. Now, they were named different names, even though the characters looked exactly like the wrestlers in the US.
That's how you get around copyright, folk.
Exactly. And that, it was the only game that allowed you to really play like dream matches that you wanted to play in video games.
Yep.
So back then, you did like Shawn Michaels versus Sting and just stuff like you couldn't do before.
Yeah,
so,
no, that Fire Pro Wrestling was awesome. And when I saw it on the PS2 when it came out, that was a late entry too.
Yeah, it was pretty late. It was somewhere around the time I think like PlayStation 2 was starting to, give way to PlayStation. So, so I grabbed that because I was like, okay, I go, again, add to my wrestling collection.
There you go.
So, yeah, so pretty successful haul. Spent more money than I wanted to, but, I'm happy with what I got.
Good. That's all that counts. And, you were talking about how, like, your purchasing has picked up since we started doing the podcast. Yep. That's my biggest fear because... it's one thing to talk about them. It's another thing to play them and then talk about them. I don't have the systems, as I've mentioned before, so I've bought some games. I know I got the box, the retro gaming box for fun. But because it goes live in April, and we'll talk about it when we get closer to it. If this Retro Blocks thing, this emulator system, I mean, I could also get a Retron, but this Retro Blocks is appealing to me. If that takes off and I get it, I am in such deep water because I'm going to be picking up everything. And that's the part I'm not looking forward to.
What are you talking about? You waste money all the time.
I do not waste money. It is all an investment for my future.
Yes. So all the figures that I see sitting behind you are an investment for your future.
That Hulk Hogan was fantastic. And there's a great story behind that. I'll get to it another time.
Well, no, you won't get to it another time because it's not retro game related.
we can get to it.
Let's not.
Actually, I got the Amiibo. I got the retro. See it all the way in the back. The retro Super Mario and you can't see that, and the retro Zelda. So
yes, well, okay, so those count. But anyway,
I'll get to use those on Friday.
Well, but the thing is to also you can do it in moderation. Like I splurged because I'm technically on vacation. So I'm like, all right, it's not like I'm going to run around and buy souvenirs for people because I'm in St. Louis.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so I did a little vacation shopping, and my vacation shopping in this case is retro,
Nothing
retro
wrong
gaming.
with that. Now,
So, yeah,
I only do things excessively, so
that's very true.
I'm going to be very much. I'm not looking forward to, but at the same time, I am extremely looking forward to getting a retro system.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, keep an eye on the retro blocks, but I would probably suggest getting the Retron 5 to start.
Well, if I'm gonna get, I mean, I'm not gonna get two of them, so I'll see what's going on. And in the meantime, I'm just waiting to hear what the Virtual Console is gonna be like on the Switch. So, because that's supposed to be really beefed up.
Yeah, it's supposed to be beefed up, but I heard it's not coming out with the launch.
No, it's not gonna go live at first, but the regular Virtual Console really didn't do that either. So,
True,
for
but
the Wii.
I think Nintendo takes, every time they announce something like that, I feel like they're taking such a risk because, you know, you want to give as much as possible to your customers on day one, and online gaming has become such a staple now that it should be with launch.
I mean, let's be honest. Breath of the Wild's coming out on launch, so everyone's gonna be preoccupied with that anyway.
Well, that's a very good point because I know that's what I'm going to be wasting my time on.
That's what I'm gonna be doing. So, sweet. So yeah, so we'll see what's going on with. Well, if you end up,
So that's that.
I was gonna say this is your last night in St. Louis, right?
Yeah, it's my last night in St. Louis. I'm heading back to Los Angeles tomorrow for a whole 24 hours.
So, so no more retro purchasing in St. Louis, but we'll see what happens in Japan.
Oh, there will be retro purchasing in Japan.
Sweet, and
Count on.
keep posting.
I'm gonna be there long enough. I'm gonna be there long enough to go broke.
Yeah, honestly, that's we'll get into that next week. I guess that's pretty interesting. You'll be there for 2 weeks.
Yes, actually, next week will be our first international broadcast.
It sure will. Can't wait to do that. It's going to be a very long extension cord from Los Angeles to Japan.
Well, don't worry. I'm just gonna run the string outside the plane.
We'll pick it up somewhere over Hawaii.
Sounds good.
And but as you do, you post the pictures up on the Facebook page, which is awesome. And hopefully, if you do some retro game shopping, Japan, if you find the Famicom, we'll see that up there on the page as well.
Oh yeah, I've already got a store picked out.
And speaking of which, with the do you have a? I mean, I know I'm not putting you on the spot. Hopefully, with the retro spotlight, because I think you mentioned one of the games.
Yeah, actually, I thought for a retro spotlight, and by the way, this is a very good segue at this point, Larry. So you're making progress in that. I like that you're learning how to segue. So
I took classes.
I thought it would make sense to do this week's retro spotlight based on one of the games that I purchased. Mm-hmm. And today's retro spotlight, or this week's retro spotlight, will be Berserk.
Ooh.
So I thought I'd go a little back in time and focus on that one. So for those of you who don't know Berserk, it debuted November 12th, 1980, originally in the arcade. So it was an arcade game. Yeah. It was an arcade game first before it was ported to the Atari 2600. It was actually only ported to 3 systems back then.
All Atari?
It was Atari 2600, Atari 5200, and the GCE Vectrex.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you remember the Vectrex. It was a very small system.
Yep.
And it didn't hook up to your television. It had its own screen.
Yep.
I
saw Vectrex last year.
Yeah. So those were the only systems that wound up being ported to, and that was in 1982 and 83.
Okay.
So, and then the idea about, like I said, for those of you who don't know Berserk, because the game is 36 years old right now. So it was a directional shooter game, a multi-directional shooter game, and you played a human, and the goal was to shoot all the robots on the screen, and you were working your way through a maze.
As you do.
As you do. It was it was like a maze-like building, and you had to shoot the robots before they shot you.
Okay.
And then the cool thing about the arcade is it was one of the first games to use an 8-directional joystick.
Really?
So yeah, so it
Huh.
was, it went up, down, left, and right, but then it included the diagonals.
Wow. Okay.
So so yeah, so
Hmm.
that was an interesting thing about it. However, when the arcade first came out, the eight directional joystick was very malfunctional. So there were a lot of arcades who wound up canceling their order because they were hearing horror stories about the directional joystick problems.
Oh no.
So the developer of the game, who was, I'm trying to remember, Stern Electronics was
Okay.
the developer. They had to fix, it took them some time to fix the joystick, and they actually wound up sending joysticks to actual arcade places to replace them.
Wow. That
So
must have
yeah,
cost
so
them a pretty penny.
there was some problems with that. But again, but once that worked out, I mean, Berserk was like just a really fun game. And one of the cool things about it was because of the random, because of the number of random rooms, because it was a maze and each room had a different setup, and they had set it up like a grid, and the random generator actually made it possible for 65,000 rooms in
Holy
the game,
cow.
or 65,000 rooms in the code of the game.
Good God.
However, at the time, the random number generator couldn't handle that large of a number.
Okay.
So the maximum that you could play in the game, in terms of like, the maximum number of room designs,
Yeah.
was actually limited to 1,024.
That's a downgrade if you ever heard one.
Right, which is a huge downgrade, but when you think about it, playing in over 1,000 rooms is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But just the idea that you could have had over 65,000 rooms,
Honestly.
kind of awesome.
I wonder if the game. I'm sure it hasn't. We would have heard about it. But imagine putting the game out now with all those rooms.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm sure now, obviously it can be done.
Oh, totally.
So, anyway, so the game was a brainchild of a developer named Alan McNeil,
Okay.
and he started developing the game based on a dream that he had.
Ooh. Fancy.
So he had a dream that involved the game, and then he just decided to create it. Now, another piece of the game that was interesting is that if you lingered onto a screen too long,
Linger
like if you
longer.
didn't kill all the robots on the screen and move on to the next screen, this giant smiley face would show up on the screen.
Yes, I remember that.
And the smiley face would bounce its way towards you, and you couldn't kill the smiley face. So if he got you, you died. Now, the smiley face's name, it had a name, was Evil Otto. And the reason why he was named Evil Otto was it was Alan McNeil's, it was the security chief at his former employer's office. He named it after. And the reason why he was a smiley face is because, according to McNeil, the security officer, when he would chew somebody out, would do it with a big smile on his face. So he created Evil Otto.
That is awesome.
Yeah. In fact, there was a list, an IGN list of the top villains in gaming history, and Evil Otto made it to number 78 in the top 100. So very, very well known. A few other things that were interesting about Berserk is that it was one of the first video games to use speech synthesis.
Oh.
So it actually had audio in the game
Okay.
for the robots.
One of the first. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it was one of the first. So at least in the arcade version, the robots would talk.
Yeah.
Also in the Atari 5200, the robots would talk, but not in the 2600 or the Vectrex. At the time, the voice compression cost the company $1,000 per word, which is crazy when you think about it. So there were a total of 30 words in the game, so that's $30,000 just for the sound. One of the coolest things about the sound that I found, because it would say, the robots would say things like "intruder alert," "the humanoid must not escape,"
Mm-hmm.
things like that. It had one funny line: if a player moved on from a room without killing all of the robots, it would say it would call you a chicken. But I think
that's worth 1,000 right there.
Yes, but I think one of the coolest things was when nobody was playing the arcade and the top scores screen would come up.
Yeah.
The game, it was called attract mode to get players to turn around and play the game. It would say coin detected in pocket. So if you were walking by the game at the right time, it would say that and catch your attention.
And back then, forget about it. You probably thought it was scanning you, knew you had change in your pocket, and
exactly.
There you go, and went right into the machine.
So yeah, so a lot of interesting things about that. So I mean, the game itself was generally well received, like I said, and Evil Otto has become somewhat of a famous name. It's definitely they've had there was a sequel for it also called Frenzy in 1982.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, no, I never heard of that one.
Berserk has also it's one of the games that has world record holders.
Yep.
So, and there were two versions for it. There was a version for the fast bullets version when when you got to shoot faster.
Okay.
That world record is held by Steve Wagner currently.
Okay. Congratulations, Mr. Wagner.
Yep. And
USA.
yes, and then the slow version, I guess I should say, the slow shooting version, is held by Phil Younger also from the United States. So
top for both, Mr. Younger. Congratulations.
Yes, exactly. So we have some world records on that one.
Excellent.
Which is kind of cool. And one other thing I wanted to point out about the game was so it pops up in pop culture actually quite a few times. So in 1982, there was a singing duo that recorded a song called "Going Berserk," which was referenced the game.
Was that on the same album as Pac-Man Fever? Probably.
That is the album it was on.
Ah, I knew it. Yes.
Only you would know that.
Song is awesome.
So there was another track in 1998 recorded by Richard D. James called "Humanoid Must Not Escape." And that's one of the lines the robot says in the game Berserk.
That song I'm unfamiliar with.
Yep. If you know Eminem, the artist Eminem,
yeah,
he has a song called Berserk, and the logo that he uses looks a lot like the logo for the game.
And it's funny you mention that now because I was listening to my music and I have that song Berserk, and even when it first came out, every time I saw the logo, I'm like, it looks familiar, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And but yeah, now that you mention it, it does look like an arcade cabinet logo. Huh.
Yeah, and that's exactly where we got it from. It was influenced by the original game.
Sweet.
Berserk has appeared on several television shows, including My Name is Earl. It's been referenced on Futurama, The Simpsons, in an episode of The Venture Brothers.
The Venture Brothers. Wow, it's more popular than I would. I mean, I remember some of the game. You mentioned Evil Otto. I don't remember it. I don't remember the name Evil Otto, but I remember that smiling face haunting me at night. And I didn't realize though how popular it was in pop culture, especially in the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's one of those games that you honestly, you see it and you recognize it right away when you see it. Yeah. And you wouldn't think it was as popular as it was, but yeah, if you think back to Atari, it was probably one of the most popular games on that system.
That's awesome.
Because you can put it in the category of like Asteroid, Centipede.
Oh, I am now. Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like it did have that level of popularity.
No doubt, it clearly does more popular than I would have ever remembered it to have. So that's awesome. That's pretty cool. That's knowledgeable, very knowledgeable.
Yes, and that concludes this week's Retro Spotlight.
Da da da. So there you go.
Oh, I told you last time not to do the music.
I'm warming up the vocals. Don't you worry.
Why don't you just rip them out?
Then you wouldn't have a partner. And I'm not bringing in Frank.
That's okay, yeah, because we have somebody else who can take over.
You may be outside my door right now waiting.
Yes, he smells the podcast happening.
Oh, it was fun having him on. Yes. So.
Well, I hope he's not waiting outside my door.
Oh, that'd be weird and creepy. Be on the lookout for any knocks. So, in St. Louis, have you? I know you say you didn't get a chance to watch Castlevania, my gameplay. Did you able to see the video I put up a little while ago with Legend of Zelda?
No, I did not.
You thank you very much for paying attention.
Well, I mean, I'd like to watch these videos, but I'm not sitting in my hotel room looking at Facebook looking for videos.
I don't blame you.
I'm actually out doing stuff.
A lot of people don't do that at home. But this morning I put up, which was recorded last week, my friend Trish, different Trish than who was on the show a couple weeks ago from Barcade. She was talking to me one time, and she mentioned how she's never played The Legend of Zelda on NES.
Which is sacrilege.
Growing up, she had Super Nintendo, so she played Link to the Past like there was no tomorrow. But the original Zelda, so this morning I had her come over one day, and we recorded her playing, and this is someone, in our grouping who would have grown up with the NES with Zelda, playing for the first time The Legend of Zelda, and it's on Facebook right now. It's under Trish Plays for the first time, and it's funny, like, to watch someone play a game that old for the first time in 2017 was quite remarkable and quite comical. On no disrespect at that. It was just funny watching someone navigate through Legend of Zelda, navigate through Hyrule, kind of learning it on the go for the first time.
Well, especially when you think about how, like, the game just drops you in and you have to, there's really nothing, there's no knowledge of anything. It's just like, here you go in this room, get a sword, and best of luck to you.
And that's the part, I wish she was here right now to talk about it. She played it before we had the idea of recording. So she kind of started it, and that's exactly what happened. The game starts, she's planted right there, didn't know what to do. Like, the door is right there, and just was unfamiliar with that. And it, like, that point, it dawned on me. I'm like, we should stop playing and start recording right now. But, but she was trucking through it. She got through the first two, well, she got to the second dungeon, got through the first dungeon. But as playing, I was trying to help her out, and then I realized how much I've forgotten of the game, and I may myself have to pick it up and restart it because, God help me, I couldn't get her to the second level. I completely forgot how far to the east the second dungeon was.
Oh, wow.
It's been forever since I played that game, so.
Oh, yes. That game, I have to say, I pick that game up at least once a year.
Well, there you go. So you got muscle memory with that.
And I play through it because it's by far and away one of my most favorite games of all time.
Classic. No, don't get me wrong.
Yep.
Total classic. But I forgot a lot of that game.
Oh no, see, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, because I played it so many times, like I know where everything is. The only thing that I always forget is how to get through levels 8 and 9. Like, I don't have the maps memorized.
Okay.
But the first 7 levels I get through with no problem. I know where all the hidden items are. I know where all the extra hearts are. Everything.
Apparently, recently there was just came out on YouTube. Someone took, how some people take advantage of the coding in the game.
Yeah, there was like
beat the
glitch,
game like 5 minutes, but like not even a glitch, because it also happened with someone with Super Mario World. It's like you reprogram the game while you're playing the game. It's a wild, I'll call it a phenomenon. I don't know what else to call it, that people have done with some of these older games. And, it makes you beat the game in like 5 minutes. I mean, don't get me wrong, it like glitches out and then, it ends, but it technically gives you the ending.
Yeah, but, I mean, that's not really beating the game, though.
No, that gets like too scientific in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think when you get to things like that, I mean, now you're at the point where it's like, all right, you're not really playing.
No, you're literally reprogram. You're recoding the game as you play the game. It's wild.
Right. So again, like it's kind of like using a walkthrough. It doesn't count.
No, not really, but we'll take it for what it's worth. But yeah, so it was pretty good. I remember just panicking at points in the game. Myself panicking, like in my head, like where is this level? Like I was supposed to remember where all this stuff was, and it's wild how much of a love of a game that you have that you forget after a while. This speaking of Zelda.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, the game is over 30 years old. If you haven't played it in that long, you're not required to remember all of that information.
But that gameplay, it's about a half hour. It's fun. It's funny. Check it out at the Facebook page. And there's a few NES games that she has not played. So I have from the NES Classic. I'm gonna have her try out maybe some other games just to see like play through for the first time on some of these classic games. I will not let her play Castlevania 2.
Well,
that's too much of a torture.
No, do not do that. I will check the video out while I'm at the airport tomorrow.
Please do. So that was a fun time recording that. And so with gameplay, you got anything up, down, to the left of the pike, whatever the saying's called? I want to see some more gameplay from you, my friend.
Oh, I mean, I have so many games in the queue right now. I really just need to. Odds are I will not be able to get to some solid gameplay for maybe at least another month or so because I'm going to be traveling for the majority of the next 2 months.
Fair enough.
But what I may start doing is looking for shorter games.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about completion. The Zelda, we weren't going to complete it all. We're just going to quick gameplay. Just kind of pick up and go.
Well, I would like to sit down and play some Tecmo's Deception since I got all those games now.
I'm looking for. I've never seen that game. You talk about it so much, and I've yet to see. I mean, I can look it up on YouTube, but I've never seen gameplay of it.
Yeah, and what the sad thing is that it's not. There's nothing monumental about the game whatsoever. I think most people will find it boring.
Yeah, but still, it's a game, so why not?
Yeah, I just like the concept. I just want to serve Satan. What's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong, apparently, with that.
Kind of like another game that I really enjoyed, which was called Clock Tower, because
Clock Tower was awesome.
Clock Tower is awesome, but like when you go back and play it now, it's a point and click thing, and it's very slow.
Oh well, compared to today's standards, yeah, forget about it.
Yeah, so when you play it, it just takes forever. However, I still haven't beaten that game. I haven't gotten every ending for that game because there are 10 endings.
I knew I forgot to talk about something. Okay, the endings. That's a lot of endings. Yeah, Clock Tower.
Circling back to Castlevania, yeah. But Clock Tower had 10 different endings, and I think I succeeded at 3 or 4 of them, and that was it.
Huh. Wow. I can't even imagine all the different things that would need to be done to get to 10 different endings, let alone 3. Like you'll see eventually one of them.
Right. Well, with Clock Tower, it was all about you made choices along the way, and those choices led you down a different path.
Gotcha. So speaking of endings, you mentioned when you did Castlevania 2, when you were talking about that there are, and in fact there are, 3 different endings depending on how quickly you beat the game. And let's get into that real quick because you're only going to see one of them in a little while. The first ending, which is the best ending, where you beat the game in, I think you said 6 days. It's like 6 or 8 days, somewhere like that.
8 days.
8 days or less. Basically, Simon Belmont will be freed from Dracula's curse, as will all of Transylvania. But Dracula's hand shoots out of the grave, indicating he may not be done just yet.
Well, of course. Why would he be done?
So that's the first ending.
Free.
Ending number 2, and I'm getting this from, actually, I looked up through GameFAQs, one of the walkthroughs.
The walkthrough that you're using, yeah.
So, ending number 2, in 8 to 15 days, Simon yields to the wounds he sustains in the original Castlevania, but Dracula appears to be permanently defeated. So, Dracula appears to be completely dead, but you're still kind of nursing your wounds from the game. Now, there's a thing to this. This is why I mentioned these 3, because they may seem a little out of order. Ending number 3, which is anything over 16 days or more. You don't see Simon Belmont at the grave of Dracula, but it appears that he's succeeded to free the land of Dracula. basically it appears that the endings are a bit out of order. Because ending number 1 should really be ending number 3. Ending number 1 is with Dracula's hand shooting out of the grave, and you would think that would be the worst ending because, you didn't do what you needed to set out to do. So
that makes sense. I mean, it's entirely possible because the game didn't translate well from my research of the game. So
no, you were talking about that, yeah. Even with the village people, YMCA, who the words and they're supposed to trick you in the game, but not as much in the American version.
Right. In the Japanese version, like they were, they would basically lie to you.
Yeah.
But by translating that into the American version, it just like a lot of what they tell you doesn't make much sense.
True. So
whether or not, and on top of that, they're lying.
Yeah, that's true. So the endings really are out of order. I mean, the way it looks here, it should be almost like the ending I'm going to get is probably going to be the best ending that technically you can probably get. Simon's not there. The graveyard's there. Looks like everybody's free of the curse. And so technically, I am going to get the best ending.
You keep telling yourself that. I think if they were in reverse though, I think they would have I think that would have been reported. Like I remember I did a retro spotlight. I think that was my first retro spotlight.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think they would have mentioned that the translation got the endings backwards.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
Well, I think I think the idea of the first ending with the hand coming out being the best ending makes sense because you get that cliffhanger in a way. Mm-hmm. So it's that little enticement of like, oh, it's over, but it's not. Whereas the other two are more definitive endings where it's like, okay, it's actually over,
and it's never over.
Right. And the second one actually to me sounds like the coolest one because you get to see Simon at the grave.
Yeah. Right.
And maybe he, and it's possible like he dies. It's
possible. Right? Yeah. He's not in 3. Someone else is in 3. I think Trevor Belmont is 3.
Yeah, I think Trevor is in 3, which makes me think that the second ending, they actually show you, him dying.
That's true.
So that's kind of...
We will find out. Tune in, folks.
Well, unfortunately, we will, so...
So, all righty. Well, yeah, that's when you mentioned endings. I just wanted to mention that part, that was pretty interesting with the endings. So...
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of games have multiple endings. But back then, it was special when you got that.
Yeah, right. Alrighty. So with that, we're gonna start to call it here. But I got one more thing. You may be on the road, but there's just some things we're still gonna get into, and that's including This Week in Gaming. And this week, I take over This Week in Gaming.
Yeah, try not to screw it up.
So here's what we have. Here's some, in my opinion, some footnotes of the week of February 27th, not counting a leap year. In Japan, NES, Final Fantasy 1 and 2 were re-released as a compilation for the two of them on one cart over in Japan.
How fun.
Street Fighter Alpha 2 Arcade came out in Japan in the early 90s. And also in Japan, which ended up over here in the U.S., in my opinion, being one of the best games on Game Boy, Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages, and Oracle of Seasons came out in the Land of the Rising Sun. What's awesome about those games, they were two separate games, but when you beat one and then you start the other, you put a code in, and pretty much everything you got from the one game gets carried over onto the second.
Now, was there one, was it better to start a specific one first?
No, I don't think it really mattered. I happened to have bought Ages originally, and that was more of a... Nope, that's a lie. I bought Seasons. So Seasons is what it sounds like. You can change the season, winter, summer, spring, fall, and whatever season is affects the board. Ages is a little bit of time traveling, and Ages I got on the Virtual Console when it came out. So I'm actually I'm going to play through Seasons on the Game Boy, and then I can convert it over to the 3DS.
Oh, that's cool. I was actually looking at the Virtual Console the other, a few days ago, and I was contemplating getting Oracle of Ages or Seasons.
Yeah,
I've never played those Zelda games.
It's awesome. It's definitely well worth it.
That's what I've heard.
February 28th in 1997, Turok, the Dinosaur Hunter, Nintendo 64.
Ooh.
Great game.
I never played it.
Yeah, I had it for a short while. Then I sold it.
I remember.
back.
I do remember it. I remember it very well.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Yeah. I thought they were going to make a new one recently, but I guess that got shelved. Maybe on the Nintendo Switch. Who knows?
I was just gonna say, Turok was on like Xbox or 360 or something.
It was. That was kind of the last go around with it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Soul Blade, PlayStation, PS1, 1997. That led into, I should say, Soul Calibur.
Yes, and I love Soul Calibur.
One of the best fighters.
Awesome. Really, yep. One of the best fighting games by far.
1999, February 28th, for the PlayStation, R-Types, which was R-Type and R-Type 2 on one disc, another compilation.
Yeah.
R-Type, in my opinion, probably the best, for me, side-scrolling shoot-'em-up in gaming.
You think?
For me, yes. Because, I mean, Gradius was awesome, Life Force.
Gradius,
kind of one and the same for Konami. But with R-Type, the different weapons you can get on that little hub that you attach to either the front or the back of your ship, and you can also use that hub thing as a projectile as well. I thought that gameplay just made it so much different and better, for me at least.
All right, I can understand that.
Yeah, no, that may be one of the next games I get for the Virtual Console, either Super R-Type or R-Type 3 or something for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I was going to say Super. I remember Super R-Type being awesome.
Yeah. For the PC, February 28th of 1999, Star Wars X-Wing Alliance. I don't know if we talk about PC too much, but
all those silly Star Wars games.
And the friendly Germans got The Sims for the PC in 2000.
Oh wow, The Sims in German. That could be interesting.
March 1st.
But then they didn't.
They didn't what?
They didn't talk. They talked gibberish.
Yeah, which almost over here sounds German. March 1st, 1988. Now, I asked this question to you before we started recording. On the Atari, like the old school Atari, even like 2600, I don't ever remember a sports figure's name being attached to a game. But and this had to have been one of the last games. Actually, I may have to double check the stats on this one, but I'm going to mention it anyway. Pete Rose Pennant Fever for the Atari in 1988. So that had to have been one of the last games, unless someone made a homebrew.
Well, I'm more surprised that, and you're talking Atari 2600?
That's what it said, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I find it hard to believe that Atari was still making games that late, but I guess it's entirely possible because their next system that came out was the Jaguar, and I believe that was like in the early 90s.
Yeah, probably like around the PlayStation. I would say when it came out.
Yeah. So I guess they just, and it could also have been that, after the video game crash with the resurgence of Nintendo and everything like that, Atari just tried to get back into the game, so to speak.
Yeah, right.
But, I don't think using Pete Rose would have worked.
Especially in 88, I think okay, nope, you know what? I'm looking at a correction here. Oh, no, 2600, also available for 7800 and for DOS. So, interesting.
Wow.
Also, you're right. Also on March 1st in 1997, the UK got Super Mario 64.
Such a great game. And I saw you post on Facebook the which Mario game was your favorite?
Oh yeah, I forwarded that from another group had that. I want to give a shout out to them.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I can't answer it.
All joking aside, I'm like, this is one of the hardest questions I've ever to answer because it was basically is what it is. What is your favorite Super Mario? 1, 2, 3, World, Yoshi's Island, which someone made a good point that it may not necessarily a Mario game, but we'll get into that in a moment. Or Super Mario 64. That I forwarded from Retro Gaming Online from Facebook.
Yeah, see, it's hard for me to pick because there's always the original Super Mario Brothers, which started the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then Super Mario 3 perfected it.
It did. It really did.
However, Super Mario 64 introduced the entire video game industry, more or less, to a whole new version of gaming.
No, it has, and that's why I still think it's so difficult to choose. To kind of give a rundown real quick, on the original posting of it looks like the game in the lead, most people enjoyed Super Mario World. I mean,
Wow.
28 people voted, but still, Super Mario World was in first, followed by, who had the laughing face? Super Mario Brothers 3. And then in third was, who had the wow? Super Mario. So it went Super Mario World, Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario Brothers 2.
Super Mario Brothers 2.
Yeah, that's what
Wow.
a lot of people liked. Yeah.
Out of that list, that's by far my least favorite.
Super Mario Brothers and let's see, Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario 64 both got the same amount, and then only one person liked Yoshi's Island. But again, that's out of 28. But still, it's something.
Well, no, it's interesting because I wouldn't have expected the vote to go that way.
But someone made a good point. Would you consider Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, a quote-unquote Mario game?
I would, basically, because that's what Nintendo considered it. Gotta
I mean,
roll with
you
it.
play as Yoshi for the game, but Yoshi's part of the Mario world, so I would.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's perfectly fine to consider it a Mario game.
Yep. So, Ty, we humbly, respectfully say that it is a Mario game, but we appreciate your posting on there anyway. So that's
Yes.
very good.
Thank you, Ty.
And I'm still debating. I still can't figure out which one. I'm between like a three-way tie between OG Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario World, and Super Mario 64, because it's kind of like what you were mentioning, but each one of those games was not necessarily Super Mario, but the first on the respective system, which took advantage of the new features of the systems. So it's just hard. I'm still trying to debate.
Well, mine's a coin flip between Mario 3 and Mario 64.
All right, so that's how that is. But the UK got Super Mario 64 March 1st in 1997. March 2nd, I just find this funny. The beta release of Checkers on DOS
Wow.
came out in like 89.
The beta in 89.
Yeah, some weird beta release of Checkers.
Oh God.
But more importantly, and
I don't even know what to say to that.
And I remember this game. This is one of the games that actually, because I got this system a little bit later, like maybe a year after its release or something. Ninja Gaiden on Xbox.
Yes.
In 04.
Yeah, that game, I actually really enjoyed that game.
And I think, one of the games that I went out and bought an Xbox for. So,
yeah, because Ninja Gaiden, like, went silent for so long. Like,
yep.
It was so great on the NES, and then, like, nothing ever happened after that.
That was like the whole big thing of the game. Like, out of nowhere, all of a sudden, like, Team Ninja comes out, and they announce this new Ninja Gaiden game.
Yeah, it was actually really cool.
It's fantastic. Nope, that's not that. There we go. I almost messed it up, but I got it. Also on March 2nd, for the PlayStation, in 1998... This is
why you shouldn't do my segments.
X-Men Children of the Atom.
Oh, yeah. I still have that game for the PC.
Oh,
like,
really?
I have the original disc.
Nice.
Yeah, I never got rid of it. It's just one of those, in the mid-90s when I actually tried buying some PC games, that was one of the ones that I bought, and I still have it.
Cool. And then to round this out, this one I'm doing in honor of our guest last week, Frank. On March 3rd for the PlayStation 2, Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future.
We know how much he loved Echo the Dolphin.
I just love that subtitle, Defender of the Future.
Well, you know what? Sometimes dolphins have to come in and save the future, okay?
In that odd dolphin speak. So that's your week, our week, this week in gaming.
Well, thank you very much for doing that for me this week.
I appreciate it.
That's
what podcast partners do for each other.
Yes, I'm coming around to realizing that, especially since I'm going to be busy for the next few weeks.
And to have Frank probably try and put this together will probably be a maddening situation.
Oh yeah, no, that's well, you know what? He might do a good job. You never know.
So with that being said, I think we're gonna wrap this all up. And
Yeah, it's bedtime.
yeah, no, I hear you. We're recording this one late, and we're almost on the same time zone. So
Yeah, for like the first time.
yep. And with that, next week, yeah, we're gonna do our international show. We're still trying to figure out the logistics of it, but we'll get Anthony from Japan.
Yes, you will definitely get me from Japan, and the time difference will be fun. And,
You'll be wide awake, and I'll be sound asleep.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how delirious I sound next week.
Awesome. Well, good luck with your flight, both home and then away.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I plan on doing some retro gaming on the plane.
Sweet, good stuff.
I got my portable Genesis.
Yes, that thing's still holding up.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Good.
Yep. It's I was playing a lot of what was I playing a lot of? I was playing a lot of Sonic.
Does it have like the Sonic version with Knuckles, like the add-on, the piggybacking versions?
I don't know. I was playing Sonic 2.
Oh, okay.
So I was playing with Tails.
Probably the best one, in my opinion.
Sonic 2 was my favorite.
So cool. All right, so I can't wait. Yeah.
I've never played Sonic for Sega CD, which I heard was better.
You never played Sonic CD?
No.
Wow. All right. Well, I think we're going to have another segment coming up pretty soon.
Very soon.
Oh, man. All right. We'll talk about that next time.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Sweet. So with that, folks, thank you again for downloading. Remember, share, subscribe. Actually, mostly share. Just get the word out, for crying out loud. And thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting. And keep retro gaming. And Ant, I'll catch you next week.
All right. Take it easy.
All right, good night, folks. Or good morning. Or